Kind of disturb myself when I do that.
Alrighty then.
Stuck him in the head with a crankbait's what's happening. Now I'm about to rip it out of his head.
There he is. That's on me.
I'm so sick.
No. And there it is. And tonight we're with the guy who stuck the crankbait in my head, Mr. Alex Rudd.
I got it out though.
Yeah, you did. You did get it out. I'm pretty sure you put it in on purpose so you could
Man.
you could get it out.
Let me tell you something. There's probably been a couple situations in my life where I thought, if I take one more step back, I might be able to jerk a crankbait out of somebody's head. And there's enough derangement within my mind that I might just do something like that.
Well, we talked about it earlier. If you watched the video, we talked about it earlier that day when you did it.
I mean, I
You
said
joked about it, and then there it was.
there was. Yeah, that was fun. It was a good day. That was a good day.
It was. Well, how you making, Bone Gang? And welcome back to the podcast that is inconsistent, and I can't seem to get consistent every week. It's been actually a month. It was May 29th since the last live that I did. But I have trouble finding guests. I have trouble remembering to look for guests. So therein lies a problem.
I just scheduled out my whole entire July and the first week of August for my podcast. So I'm the
look
same
at me,
way.
I'm responsible.
Listen, no, I'm the same way. I've missed the past 3 weeks in a row. So I mean, it's all good. Like I really try to be as consistent as possible, but like I don't know. I think the podcast would be so much easier to make. Okay, let me back up a little bit. This is coming from a guy whose job is to make sure that there's a podcast every week. But there's been a lot of things going on. I was out of town 2 weeks in a row, so that's kind of actually 3 weeks in a row. So that's the biggest reason why there wasn't a podcast. But that being said, like I think the whole like in-person podcast thing is so like much more available or not available, but like easy to do because then you're like forced in a time and a place.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I don't know. Yeah. I'm neither here nor there on. Yes, I understand. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, if I didn't have a full-time job on top, no, I'd probably still be inconsistent.
Yeah, you would. Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me. You would.
Yeah. But today we're going to be talking about the main topic of today is going to be outdoor outlaws. And I got the idea. We have a local guy, Don Dubuque. Yeah, almost lost his name for a second. Don Dubuque. He's a local media guy. Every Saturday morning on a local radio station, he does just an outdoor show for like 2 hours, and he crushed that Dr. Pepper can. But he does an outdoor show. Like he talks to all the guides, the local guides, and everything. Gets the fish and game reports and such. And then he does the bad boys of the outdoors, where he reads some of these things where people got in trouble doing things they weren't supposed to do. And I found it pretty interesting because it also tells you not only when, where, and how, and what, and why, and all that good stuff, but it tells you the fines.
Ooh, there you go. That's what I like to hear. I like to hear how much trouble people really got in and how much it cost them. That's my favorite part.
So that's one of the things I want to talk about when we do this is do we think it's sufficient enough? Should it be more? Should it be less? And I find it that on the lower end. Like I'm like I would think it would be higher.
Yeah, I think the problem with a lot of outdoorsy things is placing value on what an animal cost. So like the biggest problem is in the world that we live in today. They put a chicken in a cage and, a chicken like costs roughly like, $4 or $5. And so like if a person goes out and kills a grouse, is a grouse much more worth than a chicken's worth? And like, and I think that's where they kind of like get into like just placing value on living things, which is a weird concept and a weird thing to talk about. But I mean, it is just what it is with what we do in the outdoors. We place a numerical value on a living thing.
Right. Most of these are you'll have the fine, the court costs, and then the replacement value of the animal.
Yeah,
would be an additional charge. I tried looking up Tennessee's, but I couldn't navigate the website to where I could find the different ones. But I'm looking through this. There's a lot, not just with wildlife, but they got like Slidell man cited for gross littering in Orleans Parish.
What is gross littering?
I don't know. All littering is pretty gross if you ask me. But
It must be like that. Must be like serial littering.
well, all right. Well, let's look at it here. I'll pull this up and then I'll make it visible on here somehow. Let's see. How do I do that? Is this it? Nope. Wrong button. There it is. So apparently this is gross littering. I see 3, 4 paint cans, some paint bottles, a beer bottle, and some kind of desk looking thing.
So gross littering. It's a criminal penalties.
Well, you got it.
Indemnification. No person shall intentionally dispose or permit of the disposal of any household or office furniture or appliances, automotive parts, including but not limited to tires, engines, trailers, boats, boating accessories, tools and equipment, building materials, roofing nails, bags and boxes, household, office garbage. Refuse upon any public place of the state, upon any private property in the state not owned by him, upon property located in rural areas in the state not owned by him or any other waters in the state, whether the vehicle otherwise including but not limited to any public highway, public right-of-way, public park, any beach, campground, forest, land, recreational area, trailer park, highway, road, street, alley, except to when such property is designated by the state by any of the agencies and political subdivisions of any disposal of such items and such persons is authorized by the such property owner in such purpose. So essentially what that means is I guess gross littering is like when it's not just like cigarettes and whatever.
Like dumping.
It's like this guy had like a piece of furniture obviously here and I don't know what else this other thing is, but like the furniture, it was what pushed it into gross littering.
So watch how they found this dude. So agents were on patrol when they observed the fresh litter pile near the Highway 90 and Highway 11 intersection. This intersection is a long-standing location known for dumping in New Orleans East. Agents were able to find identifying material within the multiple paint cans, boxes, and construction material. Agents traced the material to Delgado Reyes in Slidell. So apparently, he probably had his address and name where he ordered the paint color, and it's probably sitting there on the paint can. Is my guess.
Dude, I think more than anything, I think what we're going to run into tonight is a level of hilarity with like dumbassery, with people like being so stupid. Because like that's the thing that most people have to realize is like most criminals are stupid.
Oh yeah,
like, they're just so dumb that they do stuff like leave their address on the boxes that they left around, and then the cops just go back to the address and go, "Hey, we got you for gross litter in there, bud."
Additional paint cans, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah. So agents went to Delgado Rey's residence and found additional paint cans identical to those on the litter pile. Agents made contact and the subject and with the subject, and after conducting an interview, they determined Delgado Rey's placed the litter intentionally. Gross littering carries up to $900 fine, up to 30 days in jail, and 16 hours community service in a litter abatement program.
Okay, so my question is obviously this old boy got up that day and said, "Hey, I'm going to load these items into my vehicle and I'm going to drive them to this abandoned stretch of road and dump them there." Why didn't he just drive to the dump and dump them there?
It would have taken less time and cost him a lot less, because
I mean,
if he gets the 16 hours of community service, it probably only would have taken him an hour to go to the dump at most. And
so,
it certainly wouldn't have cost $900.
So, I mean, old boy's going to have to probably do 2 full 8-hour days of community service in the hot Louisiana sun picking up trash.
Oh, and it is hot.
And pay $900 and possibly set an entire month in jail. Okay, so
I doubt they'll get the jail time.
Well, here's the deal. Here's my opinion about the jail time. So you wanted to talk about like whether things are severe enough or not. The jail time to me is just a massive waste of my taxpayer money because I do not want to feed, clothe, and house somebody for 30 days who threw some trash out on the side of the road. Make the guy pick it back up, make him pay $900 if he can afford it. And if he can't afford the $900, then make him show up every weekend for community service and better the community in which I live. Or better yet, give him some asphalt and make him go fill up potholes. That's what I want to see. I want to see like community Like, just seeing
Absolutely.
I think that more than anything needs to be the punishment for a lot of things. It's like, screw jail time. Sitting in jail does nothing other than use my taxpayer money to feed, clothing, house somebody for a while.
And figure
Whereas
out how to be a better criminal when they start talking amongst each other.
exactly, exactly. So, my thing is like, not egregious crime. I mean, murder, rape,
Right, right.
kinds of things.
Certain
Like
things.
people embezzling. Like somebody that's embezzled. I don't even care if it's millions of dollars. They don't need to go sit in prison. They need to do something to better the system in which they broke,
Right.
which is,
Nonviolent crimes.
nonviolent crimes need to have nonviolent repercussions. And like prison, man, prison is an industry, my friend. There are people who
Oh,
make
yeah, for
millions
sure.
of dollars clothing
All the
prisoners. So,
private yeah. I mean, and there's private prisons that make money on, per inmate and all that good
mhm,
stuff. But
yeah.
I mean
Don't get me going down a rabbit hole. I've been watching a lot of RFK lately, so I'm feeling
uh-oh.
a little bit of social justice warrior rising. Go
I
ahead.
would rather see him do the 30 days of community service instead of 30 days in jail.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean,
Like,
30 days of picking up trash on the side of the road. Louisiana's a lot of trash on the side of the road.
yeah. I mean, so how many if he did Saturday, Sunday every week, it would take him roughly how many weeks to
I don't
pay
do
back
math.
30? I don't do math like that either. Well, 2 times 10's
Would be
20.
15 weeks, right?
Yeah, about
15
15
weeks if
weeks.
we did twice a week.
Yeah, about 15 weeks. I mean,
Yeah,
dude,
did
that's
math.
it. That's it right there. Every Saturday he's got to show up at 7 o'clock. They work an 8-hour day, and they go fill potholes. They pick up trash. They fix the community centers. They do it. I mean, all of these things. All of these things that we neglect to fix, and the county neglects to fix, and it takes forever to fix. You could have a whole legion of people out there working on it.
I concur, my friend. I
Mhm.
concur.
Just saying.
Just just saying. There was another one on here. Let's just pull up the picture. Sites woman, or here's another gross littering. I know this isn't like the outdoor stuff. We'll get to that in a second. But I mean, look, it's a whole bunch of boxes. See a Walmart box. It basically just cardboard and a little bit of styrofoam and plastic. I mean, start a compost pile. You can get rid of most of that,
Or burn it,
or burn it, and then well, you
or
might get
not,
cited for that too.
or
Yeah, you
not.
don't. No, don't do that because then you're gonna make me work.
Yeah, because you could burn something else down, and then Vinny's got to show up, or you start a forest fire that blots out the freaking sun in most of the eastern
Yeah.
seaboard, which is what we're doing now too. So let's not
Yeah.
let's not burn anything.
What's crazy is I mean, it's not like a national park or anything or a state park, but wildlife and fisheries, I'm not sure why they're hanging around there, but I don't know. I mean, I'm glad they are. Clean that up.
Interesting,
All
very
right, let's
interesting.
get to something a tad bit more interesting. Where's this Mississippi guy? Here we go. Let me pull this up. Come on. There we go. A Mississippi man pleads guilty in St. Tammany Parish. By the way, if you're not from Louisiana, we have parishes instead of counties. It's a Catholic thing. Uh, St. Tammany Parish 22nd Judicial District on June 14th for wildlife violations. The Honorable Judge Ray Childress accepted the guilty plea from Cody Powell, 23 years old, of Carrier, Mississippi. That's close by my dad, for taking over the daily limit and seasonal limit of deer and failing to tag and validate the harvested deer. Powell must pay a total of
Damn.
$8,248 in fines plus court costs. The guilty plea stems from a case made by Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries Enforcement agents, pardon me, I can read, during the 2022-23 deer hunting season. During the investigation, agents revealed that Powell harvested 2 antlerless deer on November 24 from the Bogachita National Wildlife Refuge. For this area, a hunter is only allowed to harvest 1 antlered and 1 antlerless deer per day. Agents also learned that Powell harvested an antlerless deer on November 19th and an antlered deer on December 20th from the Bogachita BCNWF. For this area of the state, a hunter is only allowed to harvest 3 deer per season, not to exceed 2 antlered or 2 antlerless deer. So he done messed up twice in the same day.
It's interesting. I mean, so he killed too many deer in one day, 2 deer that were not of regulation. Actually, no, he killed 1 deer. He killed 1 too many deer in 1 day. 1 of those deer being outside of the regulation of being unantlered. And then on a separate day, killed another 2 sets of deer, one of those again being illegal. So essentially,
So,
they're
ba
popping they're popping him for $4,000 per deer plus court cost.
so yeah, the problem is the first 2 deer he shot, he was fine. He got the antler deer and an antlerless deer, which he was allowed because it was on 2 separate days. Even if that was on the same day, it looks like he would have been alright. So he got those, he was fine. But it was when he messed up and he got the 2 antlerless deer, so basically 2 does on the same day is where he messed up.
So I just wonder. I wonder if this was. So here's where I start to struggle with these. Is like I would love to see this person, and I would love to see like what. So the guy pled guilty, right? But like, what was the intention? Was it? Oh man, I've screwed up, or was it? I'm going to egregiously break this law because I think it's stupid. Like this almost sounds like a I jacked up kind of thing because I mean it says that
Maybe.
you're not to harvest more than 3 deer or exceed 2 antlered and 2 antlerless deer. So I mean, like, if you're stupid, let's say this guy's a little stupid because I mean we deal with a lot of dumb people on here on YouTube and around the world. I mean, I'm not joking. Like, you would
Oh,
be
yeah, I know.
Bethany's entire job is to literally to just deal with people being dumb and not reading things. I mean, and so this dude could have read the law and he could have been like, "Oh, I can kill 2 deer a day just as long as the antlers and not antlers and go out there." And then he went out there and he killed them because he's stupid. And so it's like, I wonder how much his stupidity played into this and like how smart this individual is.
Uh, he might not have read the rules, but I mean, you can tell if it's an antlerless deer, if it's a doe or a buck. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
so he didn't mistakenly shoot 2 does. He intentionally shot 2 does. So now the only thing, so I don't. He's from Mississippi, so I didn't mean it that way. But
yeah.
in
We figured it out.
in Mississippi, I'm pretty sure they can shoot. Well, I don't know. I'd have to look that up. But they don't even have a tagging system, which is ridiculous to me. They have limits, but they don't have a tagging system. So you can lie and just shoot as many as you want, I guess. So like if he was going to do that, why didn't he just stay in Mississippi and not tag his animals?
Well, then maybe there too, he goes to a different state, not
Thinking
understanding
it's the same
reading.
laws.
Yeah. And see, and that's kind of the weird issue around state to state regulations. Again, if you're a dummy, because I'm telling you, dude, like I think for the general like amount of people, probably people that listen to this podcast, you guys are probably all very
All
smart individuals.
all 3 of them.
All 3 of them. You all can articulate probably the rules and regulations and the things that are put in place very, very well, and you can read and you can understand. But then you've got to understand that there's a whole population of people that cannot read. And if they do read, they don't comprehend what they're reading and they don't ascertain as to what the information they just read means to their life. And so, old boy probably just went into Louisiana and thought this is just like Mississippi and just killed whatever he thought to kill and thought it was good because he just did. I mean, I got a feeling like I'm painting a picture in my head that this guy is like camo ball cap driving like an 87 Ford truck. And he was like, "Hell, son, I didn't understand the damn. I mean, I read them damn regulations, and this shit just ain't what I thought it'd be. Man, I don't know, man. And just damn, I guess I am guilty." And like, and then that was it. And then
And he pled guilty, yeah.
and then they pinned him for 10 grand and they went on with their day. They're like, "Got this dumbass." The thing is, and with a human being like that, does that person pay that back? Like, I guess they garnish their wages or whatever, but like, I just, you know what I mean? Like, there's always criminal charges where you see like, $30,000 in criminal charges. Well, like if the person doesn't have a job, how do they pay
Right.
$30,000 in criminal charges?
Payment plans, I reckon. Make a loan.
It's $50 a month until you figure that crap out, boy.
And that's when you should be doing community service to pay it off.
There you go. And that's what I'm saying. See, and this is like a non-egregious, non-violent crime. I mean, obviously he killed
Right.
4 living creatures, but all at the same time.
It's a deer, not a person either. So I
Deer,
mean
not it's an animal, not a person. Yeah.
that's a big difference. I mean,
So
I
like,
respect all living things
yeah.
and so on, but it's not a person.
Well, I mean, figure out $8,000 worth of community service and to let them get to work on it.
Yeah, like $15 an hour,
Mhm.
just
Until
like
he
a
pays it
job.
off. Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
20 years.
20 years down the road. What's
Shoot.
the next one?
I wonder why they don't have like they don't say nothing about him losing his hunting rights or anything for a while.
See, and I think that ought to be another punishment. I think that baseline punishment is you get your right to hunt and fish stripped away from you. Period. Done.
Yep.
Stop. Like if you break the law that egregiously and you plead guilty, regardless of I said earlier whether you ascertain the rules or not, that if you egregiously break the law like that in that fashion, the first thing they do is take your hunting and fishing rights away for a prolonged period of time or until you can prove you are a changed man somehow. I mean,
Right. Well, yeah, I think there should be, and obviously it depends on the crime. I mean, for something like that, take his license away for 3 years,
yeah,
3 to 5 years,
yeah,
and you still get some fees, get some whatever. But I think in addition to it, you should have lose some rights, and then after that, if you do something again, then it gets extended, and third strike you're out. You just
yep,
don't get to hunt or fish anymore.
yeah, exactly. I don't disagree with that.
Because people do make mistakes. I mean, I've made mistakes and didn't realize it until it was too late, and it was like, oh crap.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say what it is. I'm not incriminating myself. Who knows? Wildlife might be listening. Is there a statute of limitations on that?
Anything's just, I mean, like, yeah, yeah. They can't go. They can't because here's the deal. I could say I, Alex Rudd, killed 4 deer last year and tagged none of them. Okay. I said something. Doesn't mean that it actually happened. And unless you can find proof that it happened, you can't get me for anything. Like,
Right,
because
right.
I could also say, I also saw Bigfoot. Is either one of those statements any more true than the other? We don't know. And so,
Very true.
yeah. So I'm sure there is something about that, but I mean, dude, it would be very, very, very hard pressed for any agency, wildlife agency, to get a judge to side with them enough to go, oh, this person said this thing, and so we're going to try to
We're gonna
tack
go
them with this
figure it
guy.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're just not going to do. They got better things on their hands to go do.
Like this guy, well, two guys, two Homa men cited for harvesting oysters from a polluted area. That's not good. It's foreign to you, isn't it?
No,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
First of all, harvesting oysters from a poisoned area or a polluted area. Listen, I think I think they're going to unless they're selling said oysters, which if they're selling said oysters, then yeah, I get it. But if them boys are going to take them oysters home and eat them, I think they're going to suffer their own punishment in that one right there. I mean,
No, no, the problem is they're harvesting commercially. So they're
oh,
not gonna eat them. They're selling them to people who will. That's why it's so regulated. All right, so it says agents cited Oscar Aguilar, 31 years old, and Ephraim, yeah, something Aguilar, 26 years old, for taking or wait, let me do this. Hold on. Ding. All right. Well, you can read along if you'd like. By the way, if any of you guys listening to it in the podcast form, in the podcast places, we do this. We do this live on YouTube every now and then, usually on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Today's a little different, but anyway, where was I? Do-do-do-do-do-do. They were taking oysters from an unapproved area for violating the sanitation code for logbooks. So they messed up there too. Agents were on patrol in the Atchafalaya River when they received the complaint of oyster boats harvesting polluted oysters in the washout area near Point Fur Island. Agents arrived to the area and made contact with Aguilar and Macedo Aguilar in a vessel in the polluted area. Agents found the subjects in possession of 6 sacks of freshly sacked oysters. Upon inspection of the vessel's logbook, agents found the logbook to indicate the incorrect harvest area. Agent sees the vessel. Agents seized the vessel's scraper and 6 sacks of oysters, which were returned to the water. Taking oysters from an unapproved polluted area brings a $900 to $950 fine and up to 120 days in jail. Violating the oyster sanitation code for logbooks brings up to a $20 fine. That doesn't seem steep enough. In addition to all other penalties, the oyster harvester's license under which the violation occurred could also be revoked. There we go. By the department, and no new such licenses shall be issued for 1 year from the date of the conviction. The violator may also be sentenced to perform 40 hours of community service during the period in which the violator is prohibited from possession of an oyster harvester license for a first offense. The violators may be present on a vessel harvesting or processing oysters only if that vessel is equipped with and is actively using a vessel monitoring system.
Okay, so that's bullcrap. Let me tell you why. So
Tell me.
if a bunch of dudes are going to harvest oysters that could be sold commercially that could end up damaging humans in God knows what sort of ways. I mean, because just anything. I mean, mercury levels could settle into your brain and cause all kinds of damages to you, especially if you're talking about like certain sorts of pollution, heavy metals, mercuries, leads, things like that. All right. So first of all, those dudes need to be tacked for something a hell of a lot bigger than $900 and 120
Agreed.
days in jail. Screw the 120 days in jail. Put them out in the ocean on a boat with an agent from the Louisiana DNR and make them go out there and build oyster habitat to help restore oyster populations within Louisiana that can then help to try to clean up some of those polluted waterways because oysters are filter feeders that help to clean up polluted waterways. That's what you need to be doing. And then to strip them completely of their oyster ability to harvest oysters and make sure that they never do that again. Because I mean, you're talking about somebody who could, in the long run, really hurt somebody. I mean, give them cancer, kill them, give them some sort of disease because they're eating, heavy metal or some sort of pollutant, leaden oysters. I mean, what's the difference between oysters with all these chemicals in them and someone who sells marijuana with fertilizer and weed killer all over it and all these insecticides that then kills a person because they smoke insecticides? I mean, what's the
Right.
difference here?
I don't know because the ones who the guy was it the guy who killed the deer had an $8,000 fine and these guys only get 900.
Yeah,
That's
that's wild.
ridiculous.
That's wild to me. That almost seems like there must be an industry that there must be some sort of industry in the backing of the industry within the political system that makes it
Yeah,
where
it sounds like politics
the
for sure.
the politicians are making sure that their interests are
Yeah.
kept well so that their pockets can get lined by probably a giant oyster industry and a commercial fishing industry that we probably just don't even understand that that's there.
Yeah, that's because that's dangerous. I mean, eating raw oysters is Russian roulette to begin with. I mean, you hear people keeling over every now and then. I mean, it's not a super common thing, but it can be dangerous sucking down a raw oyster, sucking down one of them loogies. You ever eat raw oysters?
Yeah, a couple. I didn't enjoy them. I like them cooked.
Yeah, I'd rather them raw than cooked. To be honest with you,
Really? Yeah, I'm weird about stuff. I don't know. It's the
you're a texture guy.
yeah,
See, I'm not a texture guy. Texture doesn't bother me as long as it tastes good.
yeah. I like sushi though, but that's a completely different ball game.
Well, yeah, I do love sushi.
Sure. But yeah, no,
Oh,
that's a weird one to me, man. I just feel like that there's I just feel like anything where you see this could harm other humans other than the humans that were doing the thing, but we're not going to do anything really too harsh about it because money. I feel like there's
yeah.
always some kind of political backing with anything that, like, that's essentially what this said was like, hey, this is bad for a lot of people, but we can't prove that it kills anybody. So yeah, we're just going to keep the way it is and let these dudes go out. I mean, like, old boy's probably out there on somebody else's boat right now, just harvesting
Uh huh.
away and just making money, and I don't know. You need to figure out what the who owns the biggest oyster processing facility and see which politicians in their pocket.
All right, I looked at this one earlier. This one's still on the news. I haven't heard anything lately. Yeah, it's the same one. Let's see. This one is about a black bear that was cached. He so there's no, which is confusing because it mentions out of season, but there is no season for black bear in Louisiana because they're still protected. We're still trying to get our population back. But it says Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries enforcement agents are looking for information about a Louisiana black bear that was found with a fatal gunshot wound in Lincoln Parish on May 12th. LDWF agents and biologists responded to a report of a dead black bear off Millie Road in Ruston. Agents and biologists found the deceased bear on the night of May 12th, and it suffered from a gunshot wound. Well, now we're just repeating ourselves. Anyone with information regarding this illegal killing should call Louisiana, blah, 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 blah. Operation Game Thief is offering up to $1,000 reward for anyone that has information and leads to the arrest of the case. Taking a bear during a closed season brings $900 and $950, $900 to $950, fine, up to 120 days in jail. Anyone found guilty of shooting this bear may also face civil restitution for replacement value of the illegal taken black bear, totaling 10 G's. That's what I'm talking about.
So I'm gonna throw the dice in on this one too. I think that the I can never say this freaking word, anthropomorphizing of certain animals, i.e., um,
Like some have
predators.
higher value, you mean?
Well, the giving human
Oh,
characteristics,
oh, oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
i.e.,
I know that word. Yeah.
big predators like bears and wolves, gives them an inherently they have more value than your ungulates because
They have
people.
eyebrows.
Yeah, they do have eyebrows. I never thought about that. But like it's like
Notice an animal with eyebrows always has more anthrop whatever you just said because it's more
anthropomorphization.
human like with the eyebrows.
Yeah.
Fish
So
don't have eyebrows. No one cares.
yeah,
Birds don't have eyebrows.
yeah, and so I think when you look at a bear, obviously, like these other crimes we've read, $8,000 for those deer or whatever, but they're only 4 grand a piece. This one bear could garner up to 10 grand. And it's because I think people, when you think about these big predators, bears, wolves, foxes is not a big predator, but it's a predator. People like, oh, it's a bear. Oh, it's a
Puppy
wolf.
dogs.
It's the thingy that I like because it's cuddly and it's da da da. What gives it any more value than anything else? It's an animal. Animal's an animal is an animal. And it's weird that the bear's got 10 grand on its head
Well,
versus the deer.
I think it might have something to do with they're protected maybe because and it might be a population thing too because killing a bear and killing an extra deer is not the same thing because there's far less predators than there are prey, and the bear is already, struggling in Louisiana. I mean, we're doing a good job. They're coming back, but they're still a protected thing in Louisiana.
No, I don't disagree.
So that might, and I mean, to me, that should be a bigger fine if it's a,
More endangered animal than something
right.
else.
You shoot something that's endangered versus there's a billion of them, and we actually need to take a few every now and then. We need to limit it so you don't wipe them all out, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I have seen in my experience, especially here in Tennessee, how people like just don't care about deer, but they care a lot
Right.
about our bears. And it's just like this weird, the Smoky Mountains and Gatlinburg, and there's black bears out in front of all the little restaurants made of wood, and everybody's got a stuffed black bear and blah, blah, blah. It's an animal. We got way too many of them. We need to kill them because there's way too many of them. I mean, it's other people's trash cans in suburbia, right? I mean, like, it's weird that
Well,
we.
they were here first, Alex.
Yeah, yeah. Here's the deal. Here in that statement within itself, we've been here for a long time. And like we're here and we're not going anywhere. So unless someone wants to nuke us all and kill all the animals with us, we're gonna be here for a long time too. I mean, so
Well, they're actually so update June as of June 2nd. they're offering $6,000 reward now. They really want to find this person.
Well, the question is was this a self-defense case or was this a nuisance case that somebody shot this bear and then thought, shit, shouldn't have shot that bear?
That is the question.
I mean,
That would be
because
the question. So,
if
so
some bear's trying to eat my cat, I'm gonna dump some double up buck into him and see what happens.
uh, my dog maybe. I don't know, cat.
You know what I'm saying? With chickens.
I'd rather the bear to live than the cat.
Hey,
I'm not
so
exactly a cat guy.
rabbit hole, more like
Yeah.
a coyote hole. So the other day, I'm mowing my yard, actually weed eating after I mow my yard. Dead middle of the day, 1 o'clock. Coyote comes out of the woods, grabs one of my chickens, and kills it in the
What?
middle of the day.
Why
Totally
you Why you were out there?
while I was out there weed eating with the weed eater in my hand, 20 yards away from me, I see it come out of the woods, grab the chicken, and run back up in the woods. I walk inside, I grab my shotgun, and I tried to crack him, but he was like way too far up in the woods. I still slung one at him just to try to get him. But like, yeah, yeah, I had to wring the chicken's neck. It did drop the chicken. I did scared enough for that, but dead middle of the day. And so I got to doing a little bit of research. I thought, why is this coyote dead out in the middle of the day? And because I thought, well, maybe it's got rabies, but it's way too healthy looking, big, healthy looking coyote. Like it didn't look like it had anything wrong with it. But what's going on? All the turkey poults and the fawns, deer are dropping fawns, and all the turkey poults are being born. So the coyotes are out in the middle of the day just walking around smoking turkey poults and eating fawns.
Hmm.
So if you got your dogs and your cats outside, folks, right now, be careful.
Yeah.
Or your
Yeah.
chickens.
Yeah. I mean, if it's just one, you don't really have to worry about your dogs too much. But when them suckers pack up, dude, that's when you gotta. Well, I mean, unless you got a little dog
My
like
bad.
yeah, like Bobby, little Bobby,
Yeah,
little coyote gonna take Bobby.
yeah. I
Yeah,
told
you need to start. You get a trapping license, man. Start trapping.
trapping. Hell, I'm gonna collapse that thing's head in with a 223 here before too long. I hate coyotes, man. I love killing them though. That is like literally frog fishing in list of favorite things. Frog fishing, literally blowing a coyote's head off. Those
Oh man,
those like right there together. Not. I would.
why do you hate coyotes so much?
I just hate them, man. They're brutal. Like first of all, there's way too many of them around here. We need to kill them.
Oh yeah, there's a lot around here too.
Second, they are brutal predators and just brutal nuisances. One of the most disturbing things I've ever seen happen in a semi natural environment is I watched a coyote pull a calf in half out of the body of a cow. So like one half of the calf was in the cow, the other half was out, and the coyote had enough boldness to walk up and grab the calf and was tugging on it enough that it got it caught up in the mama cow and ripped the calf in half. I
Jeez.
then freehanded it with a 270 at about 200 yards, and he was very far after that. So yeah,
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna be trapping them this season. I love trapping.
yeah,
Yeah, you need to. I'm telling you, you need to get you a few traps. Go put them in your. Oh, jeez, that got loud. Did that get loud on your end?
yeah. It went loud just like that did. That was a lot.
Jeez, I hit the button while I was scratching my arm. But anyway, yeah, man, you put some traps out and they'll work all night for you. You don't even, and then you can still shoot them in the morning when they're because they're trapped. Then you're gonna dispatch them or whatnot. But speaking of chickens, I got 6 chickens now, man.
Heck yeah! What kind of chicken did you get?
I got the rock bar or barred rock and 3 of them and 3 brown leghorns.
Nice, old foghorn leghorn. I say, son. That's nice.
So
Well, I'm coming to find out that my Rudd roamers are not Rudd roamers. I was
no,
lied to. No, that's completely different.
no.
I got something completely different because I Google Rudd roamers and they're red and they're dark and they're very robust chickens I got are not dark. They have speckles kind of on their tail, and they're just not as robust as I believe them to be. But I'm waiting. They said they're slow growers, so maybe they get a little bit more growing to do, and they'll molt off to a darker color. But right now, I don't think I have Rudd roamers. I think I've got like Ted's chickens or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so like I'm my chickens are kind of multi-purpose. So I'm gonna start with the eggs. Let them lay eggs. I'm gonna see how I do with that, and see how long I can keep them alive, and then eventually I'd like to get dual purpose chickens that get big enough to eat, and I'm gonna just reproduce them and eat some chickens. And the other
Mm,
thing is to lure predators in nice and close like, so I can do some trapping around here, get some
yeah.
furs, get some
Sure.
meat. Yep,
Are you-
I eat me a raccoon, boy. I'll tell you what.
I would not eat a coyote.
I'm gonna try it. The next one I get. The first one I got, she's mounted, staring right. Well, actually, she's staring at me right now. Clotilde over there in the corner. But yeah, the next one I get, I'm gonna try to backstrap just because I got to try it. I mean, I tried possum, probably won't do that again.
Possum's crazy.
Raccoon was pretty good. And then obviously Nutra is fantastic. Beaver is freaking delicious, and so is bobcat. FYI, bobcat tastes like pork, but not quite. You know that Chinese pork that comes in a pork fried rice or whatever. It's
Yeah,
like
that's actually
pork. Well, right, bobcat. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if feral, if house cats taste like bobcats, then I think that's where the pork comes from.
probably.
Just
Yeah.
saying. And then
Yeah,
beaver tastes like beef. Actually,
yeah,
very
you know,
similar to
back
beef.
in the day, trappers preferred to eat beaver and bear over deer.
Oh, no doubt. I
I
I
mean,
would.
yeah, they would eat the beaver because of the fat, and the bear because of the protein and the fat, and that's where we get the saying "a buck." A buck is because they would sell all the deer hide. They would sell the deer meat, and that's how they got, a buck was the value of a value of,
Really,
yeah, a value of amount. I think it was a value of amount of meat that a deer would provide, and so they would sell or barter with the deer, and they would keep the bear and the beaver for themselves, and that's what they would eat.
really.
Mhm. Yeah, that's where
Learn
the
something new every day.
yeah, 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 so, hold on, where did the term "buck" come from? Just so, its origins to the American colonial period, where deer skins or buckskins were commonly traded for goods. So they would trade a buckskin for a buck. It would be a buck, and then that's where we got the reference to the $1 bill being a buck because it was worth about a dollar.
Interesting.
Very interesting, huh? Yeah.
Huh. Very, very, very interesting.
Thank the Meat Eater podcast for that one. That's where I learned that.
Good. I like the Meat Eater podcast. I think well,
Love,
my buddy Frank told me about it, and then you said I should really start listening to it because I'd like it, and I love it. It's nice.
yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, Meat Eater's good stuff. They got a whole network of stuff. It's not like a promoter for them. I have no affiliation with Meat Eater, but they do have a whole network of shows. Bear Grease is pretty good too.
They're a lot better at it than I am.
That's all right. That's all right. Hey, random question. Green or blue?
Oh crap. Green.
Back before the war broke out, I was a saucier in San Antone.
There you go, little Robert Downey playing an African American man.
I got to figure out how to make that louder.
Laser.
Le who? The her.
There. I love it. I feel like Freddie Mercury holding this microphone like this.
You look like Freddie Mercury.
Just kill a man. What a
I'm
good.
trying to find another one. They got like a bunch of different things in here. Like you got to kind of sift through them. Like agents cite 2 men for oyster. Oh, another oyster violation.
Vinny the Vincent Verdon then near down blew a man's head off for touching his dog.
Got some drug and weapons charges.
There we go. Now we're talking about a good time. Let me hear that.
Agents cited Anthony Martin, 38, and of Moores, I don't know where that's at, and Raymond Daniel, 35, of Pasadena, Texas, for illegal carrying of a weapon. Martin was also arrested for operating or driving a vessel while impaired. You dummy. Possession of cocaine, possession of a firearm while in possession of cocaine, operating a watercraft while under license revocation, intentional littering. They're just hitting this dude with everything. Failing to comply with personal flotation device requirements and failing to comply with boater education requirements. Daniel was also cited for possession of marijuana.
Mary Jane.
Agents, what happens there is when they get you for something like cocaine and a weapon, they're gonna tattoo you.
No. What happened was
What the heck?
they pulled him. Oh, dang. Was that a little reverb? How'd you do that?
Dude, there's auto tuning on this thing.
What board do you got? I want auto tune.
What they call this thing? Monocast. It's like a
Dang.
cheap little. That's cheap. Cheap.
So no, here's what happened. Was they pulled old boy over. They go, you got cocaine and a knife. You got 1 pound of Colombian bang bang taped under the front seat, and it just called the heat. So you better get to going. No, so they pull the guy over. He's got some cocaine and a knife. He takes a swing at a cop, and these cops go, all right, you done screwed around. You're gonna find out. Because it's a 1-to-1 scale. You F around, you're going to find out. So he F'd around at a 10. He's finding out at a 10. And now they've they threw the book at old boy.
Yep.
But yeah, dude, cocaine.
Agents.
Like, listen, there's levels of like, okay, so there's like, you got some weed. Oh, man, he's got some weed. You got a lot of weed. Probably going to sell that weed. Damn, that's a lot of pot, man. Like, you may be a drug cartel. Then he has cocaine, and it's like that's a whole nother level of you're in the drug cartel and you're doing things you shouldn't be doing.
I don't see an amount. Agents were on patrol when they found Martin operating a 14-foot vessel with Daniel as a passenger. Agents made contact with the men and detected a strong odor of alcohol coming from Martin. Agents determined that Martin was impaired after conducting a field sobriety test. Agents also found that Martin was in possession of cocaine and concealed handgun. Agents then found Daniel in possession of marijuana and a concealed handgun. Agents also learned that Martin threw an empty beer bottle into the water. Gotcha for littering, partner. Agents booked Martin into Acadia Parish Jail. Possession of cocaine carries up to a $5,000 fine and 2 years in the big house. DWI on the water brings a $300 to $1,000 fine and up to 6 months in jail. Possession of marijuana carries up to $500 fine and 6 months in jail. Illegal carrying of a weapon and possession of a firearm while in possession of cocaine brings up to a $500 fine and 6 months in jail for each offense. Intentional littering carries up to a $500 fine. Why is that the same? Why is that the same as carrying a gun with cocaine? I don't know. Fine and 8 hours of community service. Operating, and you didn't get community service for the drugs and the gun. That's interesting. Operating a watercraft while under license or revocation brings up to $400 to $950,000. No, excuse me. Sorry, not that much. $400 or $950. Fine and up to 120 days in jail. Failing to comply with the PFD, that means prevent frickin' drowning, and boater education requirements carries up to a $50 fine for each offense.
Man, that's one of those, incur your own risk with not wearing the life jacket there, buddy, because you're already snorting cocaine, you're already drinking the alcohols, and you've got a gun and a knife that you ain't supposed to have. I mean, I'd have probably just let the PFD slide, but hey, what do I?
No, they're gonna tack on everything. A lot of times, what they do when they get you with all of those things, especially the little things, is they'll get you to plead for one of them, and they're like, "All right, you plead guilty for this, we'll drop this and this."
Yeah,
that's why they tack on a lot. That helps the DA out to get it to where you ain't got to go through court and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
which saves us money. And
I wonder, like, he probably pled guilty to the gun and the cocaine, and they were like, "All right, that's good enough." Like,
yeah, and we'll do away with the rest.
So my question is this a violent man, or is this a dude who enjoys a little bit of toot and some guns?
I don't know, but I mean, you ask me, he deserves everything he gets, because you're not just, you didn't just go out, have a good time, drink just a couple too many. No. You didn't just go out to have a joint on the boat. No. I wanted to get drunk, snort a couple lines so that I'm just zinging, and then maybe smoke a joint to start calming down towards the end of the night while I'm toting my gun illegally.
Is this in Arizona, you said?
No, this is here.
Oh, but the boys,
this is all Louisiana.
But these boys were from Arizona.
Did I say that? Let me see.
I think you said that they were from Arizona.
Texas.
Texas.
From Texas, Pasadena, Texas.
Tejas. I didn't know Tejas was known for such cocaine use, but
well, it's right about a border. Of course it is.
Oh, well, dude, it ain't cocaine no more. It's heroin, son. But anyway, don't get me going down that rabbit hole either, because that's a good one. That's a whole conspiracy theory that I don't think.
Oh Lord,
anymore.
Start a different podcast for conspiracy theories.
Dude, let's do it. But anyway, so looking at this, I find it interesting. So rabbit hole. I believe that there are certain marinas around me on certain lakes that are known to be party lakes, with these big marinas full of boats and people who like to party, that these marinas may be paying off some of our local law enforcement to not show up on big weekends to enforce the laws of driving under the influence or driving a watercraft under the influence, because I have yet to ever see in my life once in person and or heard a story about anybody and or seen a news report about anybody being pulled over for driving a watercraft under the influence.
Wait, say that again.
Okay, so I think there's some marinas around here
Mm-hmm.
that are handing some cash to somebody. I'm not going to say the law enforcement agency directly. I'm not going to say the agents directly. I'm just saying they're handing money to somebody to make sure that there's nobody
Something shady going on.
That there's nobody sitting around these marinas on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when these people are out here and they're literally pounding beers and driving float boats and sea-doos, to make sure that these people aren't doing that and pulling people over. I think it's because the marina makes so much money, because these marinas have like restaurants and they can serve alcohol. And so to avoid getting their alcohol license stripped from them, or avoid getting their restaurant shut down, or avoid losing any business, they hand old Bobby, the TWA officer, the police officer, hand him a little $1,500, $2,000. Be like, hey man, don't show up this weekend. Go over on this other side of the lake and do something.
No, if it's something like that, it's not going to be the officer. It's going to be the politician who talks to the one who's over them and saying, look, lay off the lake this weekend. We got a little party going on.
Yes, think about it. Think about the amount of money, not only through taxes, that some of these places could probably make, but you pay off some politician, Gary the politician. You go, hey, Gary, I heard you like to get your wiener touched. And, I wonder if I know somebody to touch your wiener. And then, Gary goes, yeah, I'd like that. And so this guy, this dock owner, this marina owner, hires somebody to touch Gary's wiener. And Gary just happens to be, on city board. And next thing you know, ain't nobody showing up to the guy's dock on the weekends to enforce any sort of law, because old Gary the politician's getting his wiener touched.
Wow. Freud was right.
I'm just saying.
You will never forget the sacrifice that Sweet Baby Ray's made to save your own life and entrust in your hands the future of human civilization.
Did you ever heard the Cabot Sharp? I know this is just completely out of left field. Have you ever heard the Cabot Sharp Cheddar how to advertise commercial?
I believe so. That sounds familiar.
I'm gonna have to find it and play it on. I'll have to put it on my soundboard because this is the most fantastic thing ever.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. It sounds like a really funny and familiar. I think
it's hilarious.
Yeah,
hilarious.
Your boy down here, he says commissioners eating for free. Getting their wieners ate for free. That's what I'm saying. This podcast has gone down a terrible road. I am so sorry. I'm in a little bit of a mood anyway, and so there's just no telling what's going to come out of my mouth.
Keep it PG.
13?
13. PG 13.
Okay. Well, you get one F word for every PG-13 movie.
Do you?
You do. You get one F word. Got to use it right, but you get one.
Oh, Lord. Agents cite 2 subjects for shrimping violations in Terrebonne Parish. Let's see what a shrimping violation is. Agents cited Keith. I don't even know. 61. Here, let's do this thing. I forgot about this part. There you go. Keith. Can you see that? What is that? How do you even say that?
What am I looking at?
Keith S. What's this dude's last name?
Eshite is what I would. Eshite. Agents cited Keith Eshite.
Oops, sorry.
I was going to read it. Let me read
Do it. Go ahead. You got this one.
Agents cited Keith Eshite, 61, from Montagut. I don't know. Montague and Keely Vice, 49, from Tylertown, Mississippi, for using skimmers during the closed season and using oversized skimmer nets. Agents were on patrol at 12:50 a.m. What a strange specific time to be on patrol. On March 7th in the state offshore waters south of the Terrebonne Parish near Oyster Bayou when they observed a skimmer vessel actively shrimping in closed waters. Agents made contact with Eshite and Vice on the vessel and found them in possession of 1,453 pounds of shrimp. That's a lot of shrimp. Agents seized the shrimp and sold them to the highest bidder. That's interesting. They the agents seized the shrimp and sold them to the highest bidder.
And pocketed all the cash.
And they pocketed that. Sounds very corrupt. Hopefully that money went back into conservation. They also seized 2 oversized skimmer nets. Using the skimmers in closed season brings a $400 to $950 fine up to 120 days in jail. Using oversized skimmers carries a $250 to $500 fine and up to 90 days in jail. Agents participating in the case were Sergeant Gerald Sander and Corporal Brent Herbert. Listen, Gerald and Brent, we're going to be subpoenaing your bank records very soon to see if there were any deposits for large amounts of cash for approximately 1,453 pounds of shrimp that may have been seized and then sold to the highest bidder.
That's interesting. Usually they say it's donated, like the meat's but I guess 1,400 pounds of shrimp is a lot of shrimp to be donated.
A lot of shrimp, dude. I mean, 1,400 pounds of shrimp. That's almost as much as my truck weighs. I mean, that's a lot of shrimp.
And I got to do this real quick. Say that guy's last name again, Brent.
Herbert. Hebert.
All my Louisiana people are laughing right now.
Yeah, how you say that one?
Bear.
Oh. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't.
Bear. There you go. Hey, Beard. Yeah, that sounds really, really Frenchy. That one's an interesting one. 1,450 pounds of shrimp. That's
a lot of shrimp.
I don't think that I can wrap my head around what 1,400 pounds of shrimp looks like.
That's quite big.
It is. Man, I need to get more some better buttons. I only have 8.
I have
8 presets.
I have 8 as well. Oh, yeah, I got 8. But I can do 16 if I pull it up on my computer, which I probably need to do that, and I have them all labeled and everything. So, yeah,
it's fun.
It is fun. That one's weird though. Yeah, 1,400 pounds of shrimp. I'm guessing that would fill my truck bed completely full of shrimp.
What I find interesting is they don't charge them per pound or whatever. Because I know, like, if you kill overly limited ducks, I can't confirm this, but I was told it's like $600 a duck.
Woo.
Over the limit.
I guess it's really hard to kind of. I mean, how prolific are shrimp?
You're using big words. Say, define prolific.
Like how much?
Some of us aren't school teachers.
Okay, I'll put this in very simple redneck terms. You ready? How much do they screw, and how many babies do they make after they screw?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of shrimp out there, so
yeah. So that's probably where it's like one of those things. It's like, the value, right? Like the value of the life of a shrimp is obviously much less. And then too, it's like,
yeah, but still, you would think 100 pounds. Every 100 pounds is a different charge. An extra charge or something like that.
I mean, yeah. Let's say that every 100 pounds is $100. So it's $1 per pound. I mean, at 1,500 pounds, they're going to owe $1,500.
Right.
I mean, but I guess if they sell them to the highest bidder, I guess they're getting more bang for their buck selling them to the highest bidder, and then all that money goes back into conservation. You know what I mean? Hopefully, that's where it's going. I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm assuming it is, or into wildlife and fisheries to pay the officers, because I mean, I think our licenses is what pays the law enforcement officers. So
interesting.
Very interesting. I think that's where it comes from.
One thing that's always interested me is the federalization of waterfowl. And I would love to know where the federal money for waterfowl goes. Like, is there a system that you can follow for that to see, like, is it going back into Pittman Robertson, back into state funds, or is that just like a federal tax?
Well, So you buy a duck stamp, a federal duck stamp,
Mhm.
which is where the money goes for the federal, and then you also like Louisiana also has a Louisiana duck stamp. You don't get a stamp like the federal duck stamp.
Mhm.
Of course, they changed a bunch of stuff now. I think it might be included with your hunting license now. I'm not sure. It might not be a separate thing, but I think that's where they divide it. So you still getting federal and state funds separately.
You
But
know, it is fascinating to me that each state has such a complex set of outdoor based regulations, especially around hunting and fishing. And yet, us as hunters and anglers probably, in my opinion, are the shining example of a city on a hill of what the interaction between citizens and government can look like, and
mhm.
how a system based in laws and money can work in a way that benefits everybody. Because we can still make, for the most part, I mean, here in Tennessee, I know it's different in different places, but we still have an opinion. We still have a seat at the table. We still are able to change things. And it's just fascinating to me that when you look at the government as a whole, we can't take more from wildlife and fisheries and pass it
Right.
on to the system.
Yeah, that they kind of let me down recently because they had and by they I just mean I guess politicians, whoever.
Name one specifically.
Yeah, well, so our s- our fish population, our inshore fish population, they're all kind of struggling a little bit right now. They put out surveys and uh letters of intent or whatever to reduce the speckled trout limits.
Mhm,
So right now, there the limit is 12 inches is the minimum,
mhm.
and you can keep it 25 speckled trout, which to me is outrageous. Regardless, why do you need 25 speckled trout? But anyway, that's beside the point. I'm sure when that came out back in the 80s, there was plenty enough speckled trout to do that. So they wanted to change it to 13 and a half inches is the minimum, and you can in the was it creel limit, coal limit, whatever, it goes down to 15. And a lot of people I talked to were on board with that. I mean, obviously, you got a lot of people who aren't, but they unanimously voted it down and didn't change it. And
Interesting.
I do not under it. Kind of ticked me off. I do not understand it because right now, wildlife sending out surveys to talk about because I like how they do that. They go to the anglers and the sportsmen and ask what they would like to see a limit change. So they got
Mm,
different variations of what they could do with the redfish, like 27-inch redfish is a bull red.
mhm,
They got options to where you don't keep any bull reds anymore because right now we can keep one. We can get it's a 5 fish limit. The slot is 16 to 27, and
mhm,
you're allowed to keep one over 27.
mhm,
Out of included in that five. Uh,
mhm.
but they send out a thing saying, "Do you want to eliminate the bull red? Only keep three." And then, it could be like 18 inches instead of 16, just a bunch of different combinations of how to change it. Well, they did the same thing with the speckled trout, but that they didn't change the limits. Now they're doing with the redfish. Hopefully it'll get passed. But I mean, that's kind of I don't know. I don't understand why they didn't change the limit. Because I want to say it's 1980 something was when they put the limits. I know for the redfish for sure. It was in the 80s when they made the 5 fish limit, and it hasn't been changed since. Now we've lost a lot of land, a lot of habitat since then, and we've added a lot of anglers since then.
So let's see what your boy said here. I don't know if any of this is true, but I'm going to read it because it's there. Inshore Maniac. Nice username there, bud. The LADWF is owned by the charters of the state. They can't win the title law that is still in effect because of the big oil money, but they own everything else.
Well, that's I'm sure the charters have a lot to do with a lot, but personally, my partners in the charters, and the charter he owns. And I talked to him. I actually had him on the podcast, and he would actually like to have seen uh, the limits get changed, because it kind of puts them in a tight spot. So you can't tell your customers, no, you coming down here, from out of state, you want to come fish, and you're going to tell them, no, you can't keep a limit. That's kind of hard to do and run a business. But his business depends on there being fish to fish in the future, or you go out of, you know what I'm saying? Or you go out of business when there is no fish no more.
Yeah.
So, they would like to see, or some of them, the one I know, would like to see them do that and do some conservation, so that it ensures that he has a business the rest of his life, and to pass down to his kids, and so on and so forth, that we still have fish to fish in the future.
So let me think about this for just half a second here. Let me gather my thoughts before I speak. I think an issue that we're dealing with here, if a law hasn't been looked at or revisited since the 80s, so we're talking about 40-ish years,
Mhm.
32, 40 years, depending on when in the 80s it was. I think, like a lot of things that we talk about nowadays, vaccines, civil law, public law, conservation law, like maybe it's time we revisit it. And another thing is what sort of scientific data or study are they basing their decision making off of, and how long did it take to complete that scientific data or study set to understand that these are the krill limits or regulations that they need to put in place? And do you have to worry about a financial influence into said science and said data that makes it where the data can be manipulated in a way that benefits somebody that may be unseen or seen, depending on the situation? And that's what I worry about a lot. And so, my podcast, not to push the Alex Red podcast, but come by sometime. Doors open 24/7.
Especially on the 28th, when I'll be on there.
That's right. That's damn Skippy. But I'm gonna have back on the conservation director for BASS. And one question that I do want to ask him, and it's a genuine concern of mine, is how can we trust the scientific data if there may be a financial influence into the scientific data that makes it so the scientific data aligns with what the financial influence needs to hear and needs to see in order for that financial influence to continue what it's doing? And so, like your boy says here with charters, there may be a system in place where you've got a set of charters, not your friend, but maybe a mass majority of charters, or a set of charters that have grand influence, that are going, hey, you can't do this because it will kill the amount of people that are coming to Louisiana, to these cities on the coast, bringing in these tax dollars, putting butts in seats, putting butts in beds, putting butts in restaurants, and putting butts on boats in order to catch these fish. And so if you change this regulation, not only are we going to suffer, but you will suffer in the long run, because we won't have that financial institution that we're so used to. And I think what we need to do as conservationists and stewards of the land is we need to start to push for a breaking of the norm, that, you may have to suffer financially, so that in the long run, we all can benefit from a proliferation or the screwing of fish, in order to make sure that fish last for a long time, generation to generation. I think that we're moving into I've been thinking a lot, Vinny, you can tell. I think we're moving into an era here of political awareness, that people are starting to realize these things. In things like this situation, where it's like, why is this the status quo, and who's getting paid to keep it the status quo?
Mm-hmm.
And then, if it isn't the status quo, and there's a problem that the normal angler is seeing, the normal participant in this system is seeing, and everybody else is seeing it, everybody's talking about it, but somehow the science doesn't align, then where's the financial influence into this that's making it so that the science says what the science needs to say to make sure the financial influence is happy.
So I got to do some more research, but if I'm not mistaken, the science has shown that the redfish population is on a decline. And I'm pretty sure the speckled trout was the same thing, the reason they started revisiting it.
Mm.
So that makes it sound even more shady, because if the science is showing it and they still voted it down, and again, I got to look it up. I don't want to spit facts that aren't facts. So, but that's something I want to get more into and research. They actually got a podcast, the Redfish podcast. I think they only have 2 episodes the last time I looked at it. But it's a couple of it's actually 3 redfish fly fishing guides in the area that started this podcast, and they did a lot to do with the science and stuff, the reports that they put out for the redfish. If anybody wants to go check that out. But another thing, Brian, let's see. Yeah. Brian mentioned the Pogey boats. So
Bogey.
Menhaden, I guess you know what those are?
Like
Menhaden.
bait fish.
Yeah, those big bait fish.
Yeah.
So that's a huge forage for our inshore species. And Louisiana has the most lenient laws for these pogie boats. I mean, a lot of these pogie boats are from like China. They aren't even local. Yeah, they're not even United States companies. And we know they can literally bring their nets and scrape the beach with them here in Louisiana. They don't have a minimum distance that they have to stay away from the shore. They can just come and just take, and then they have a certain percentage of bycatch that they're allowed to catch, which is astronomical. And that's another issue that we're fighting here in Louisiana, because the boats will leave Mississippi, leave their waters, and come over here because there's no laws. Basically, it's like the Wild West over here, just scraping pogie and all the.
The federal government is broken.
Well, that's the state. The state needs to pass those laws.
The state government's broken too.
I don't know if you know this, but Louisiana is pretty much known for how corrupt our politics are.
Buddy, I swear, I'm telling you, I've been on a little bit of a tear lately with all this shit. And I mean, like, I'm so, I don't even know if I'm emotionally invested into it, or maybe I am. I don't know, but it's like I've seen so much corruption lately, like so many situations where Americans, not America, Americans, me, you, the normal dude living his life, paying his taxes, is getting screwed so hard, and it's crap like this, like a Chinese company or a foreign company. Period. Screw if it's China. Screw the Chinese, not the people, the culture,
right?
But like. If those people can come here, a foreign company can come here and they can scrape the beaches and deplete our natural resources while also having the ability to have a certain amount of bycatch that can turn out to be redfish, stingrays, dolphins, sharks, and all your little things that you want, your sea turtles. Oh, got your sea turtle. Well, imagine a Chinese company brings a sea turtle on the boat and it kills it.
Yeah, they don't care.
Because our government has gave them the ability to and the right to do whatever they want to within our waters. Like, but the thing is if that was some other foreign country, let's say Russia come in here, we'd have freaking World War III. But because somebody's getting their pockets lined, it's okay for that company. Dude, I'm sorry I've turned this into a damn rant. But I mean, like, it's broken, man. It drives me crazy.
So this will be a call to action. All right. So obviously I can't personally stop these pogie boats from. Well, I mean, I guess I could, but not without getting shot or arrested. Stop these pogie boats. But
we have dynamite.
We do have dynamite. That napalm you were talking about earlier.
Like the Joker said, he just needs a few bullets and some gasoline.
That's it. No, but so like I can't change the laws for the your limits, like the fish limits, right? But since I understand that there's an issue, I'm trying to change the mentality of you got to fill the box every time you go. So I'm not gonna take I'll stop keeping bull reds. I don't keep any bull reds anymore because that's your breeders. They don't breed till they get 27 inches. So they're not reproducing until they get to a bull. So I'm not keeping those anymore because that's my breeders. if I got meat in the freezer, I might not keep any of them. I started tagging fish, so I can go out, catch redfish, tag them, and release them so they'll, for research purposes. And I'm not saying everybody has to start tagging fish. I'm just saying, keep in mind if you have 2-gallon Ziploc bags full of redfish in your freezer, you don't need to go out and catch 5 and keep 5. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Are you picking up what I'm putting down?
Oh, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it. Here's the one part I didn't like, that you can't change the laws. You can. And the
Well,
way that you do that is you be a squeaky wheel. You be loud, you be proud, you say the things that no one else wants to hear. And I can tell you that my influence here in Tennessee and the things that I've said and the people I've had on my podcast have made some changes. And it's pretty fascinating to see that when you're squeaky and you're loud, people listen to you. Now you may make some enemies, and that's fine. But these politicians and these people making these decisions, let's even strip the title of politician away. Anybody in a position of power that hasn't been voted there by me or has been voted there by me, who's getting paid by me and my tax dollars, is beholden to me. And so, that being said, we have within our rights, especially freedom of speech and our freedom to petition, to go and to petition and to say the things that need to be said. And the thing is, I think you would be amazed that with your influence, and I know you always like, well, my influence isn't that big. Your influence is plenty big enough. I mean, you got people here, and however many people's watching this and are in the comments that are willing to invest enough to be in these comments. Get these people to sign a petition. Get these people to email their congressman, to email their state representatives, to email the directors of their DNRs, to have conversations. Go out, be articulate, be polite, but be stern. And when they have these public meetings, go in and ask hard questions. Because when you ask hard questions, here's the deal. I'm never there to I am there to stir the pot, but I'm never there to project my opinion on anybody. But I will ask a question that gets a lot of people thinking, and that's the thing. That's the only thing that I've been doing with my podcast and the conversations I've been having. I'm just getting questions asked. I just ask a question, and I sit back, and I let the person either articulate an answer back to me or fumble all over themselves. And normally, when they fumble all over themselves, is when people go, "Oh, like Alex may have a point here. This may be a problem." And then the
Right.
question starts to proliferate. And that's what's been amazing is the questions that I've asked have proliferated not only from the Alex Red Fishing podcast into videos, into TikToks, into Instagram. You should see the uprising of people within the TikTok platform talking about that we have to do something about tournament fishing. Now, I'm not saying it's totally me, but after
starting conversations.
After 100,000 odd downloads on a podcast, you would think that maybe some conversations that I'm having, some questions that are being posed, are starting to change the direction of the conversation. You can do it, and I know you can. And I love the concept of, hey, we don't have to keep one every time we go out, especially when it comes to something like a redfish. It's not the same with bass. We got plenty of bass. We actually need to kill some bass and eat them because we've got way too many little ones. We need to protect the big ones. But in your situation, it's like, hey, we don't even have enough period in done
Right.
stop. Like there's not even enough here to hit our regulation or like hit the 5 fish limit.
You're right. That was very postmodern American of me to think that and the defeatist mentality. But that's just something I'm not used to. Like I do want to start going to the meetings.
Defeatist or fetus?
Yeah, either one.
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I do want to start going to like the meetings, all the meetings, the wildlife management, the political whatnots to try and do stuff like that. But I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure out all of that. And maybe I'll get with you and tell me where I got to go and what do I got to do. But I want to get I want to get biologists on here. I want to get hell, I'll even get politicians on here that want to talk about the situation.
Good luck with that shit. I've tried. They won't come on. Like they don't even entertain me.
Well, I can probably get like a local one maybe that I'm thinking of, but I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So I'd like to start getting more conservation minded I'm trying to do that on my channel, on my podcast and everything, because I think it's important, man.
It is.
It is important.
I think it's what changes the dichotomy of the political scene that we live within. And that's why I think I, for the first time in my adult life, and when I say adult life, from the time I was able to actually participate in the political system, for the first time since then, almost a decade now, over a decade, 11 years, I feel enthusiastic about the direction in which we're going because of conversations like this. grassroots, podcast based, people with opinions getting on there and being able to have a long form conversation about those opinions in all aspects of life, not just the conservation, not just wildlife and fisheries, but the grander scheme of the direction in which we're going. I am so encouraged because these conversations are leading to actual, like, tangible changes. And that's beautiful because that is truly the most republic, democratic,
Right.
beautiful form of America that America can take is people talking, people arguing, people coming out with good solutions and applying the solutions.
And I think what I was trying to get at earlier was the government has to run from the bottom up instead of the top down. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's we the people.
Hold on just 1 second. I'm gonna yell at my wife, but you keep talking.
I can see him yelling at his wife, but I can't hear him. I'm gonna wait because I don't know if he's hearing me, and I want him to hear the whole conversation.
My computer's on 1%. I'm having Bethany literally like jog.
Oh Lord!
I didn't realize it. I didn't realize my computer wasn't plugged in. Hurry, honey, hurry.
Run, Bethany, run!
My life was at stake. Plug it in, honey.
Plug it in.
I promise. Okay. We made it.
Saved. Yes. No, but so like instead of the government having to govern us, we should be able to, first of all, think for ourselves. You don't have to do anything to the max extent of the law. Am I even making any sense? The thoughts are in my mind, but they're not coming out of my mouth the way they're in my head. I don't even know if I'm making any sense.
I got good words in my head, but they don't come out my mouth the right way.
Did that make any sense at all? Or do I have to try and re-explain and just go even?
Say it in a different way.
For instance, we don't have to wait for them to change. For example, the redfish limit. We don't have to wait for them to change it for us to do the right thing. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And the law doesn't have to, even though the law allows it, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right.
Exactly. I love that.
And we need to, and I think we need to take the first step to do that, and then we could change the law once everybody gets on the same page.
Yep.
But we need to take responsibility for ourselves instead of letting the government take responsibility for it.
Exactly. And the heavens open up and the light rains down. Yeah, exactly. Like, we need to take first personal accountability for ourselves. And we need to have a set of morals that we ground ourselves in. Now, my set of morals is grounded in the Bible, and a set of morals, moral, foundation that I build myself upon there. And whatever Jesus said was good, that's what Alex tries to do. Now, do I do it perfect? Absolutely not, because I'm broken, but I try my best. Now, that also being said, that moral compass that points us north in the direction that we need to be going, doing the right thing, regardless of what the law says, is so important. Because I feel like if you've got a good moral grounding, number one, you're never going to be on the wrong side of the law. You're only ever going to be on the right side of the law. So if the law says you can keep 5, well, maybe because of your personal anecdotal experience with seeing a decline in redfish numbers in your area, you only keep 3, or you only keep 2, or maybe you don't keep any because your freezer's full and there's no reason to harvest. On the flip side of that, if the government comes out and they say, or a scientist comes out and they say, hey, man, we've had this giant algae bloom. The phytoplankton is exploding. These redfish populations have exploded over the past 10 years. We have a proliferation of redfish. And when you go out, dude, you can't keep from catching a redfish. Well, then you may keep a few extra than you need to stock the freezer, because you see that that's the good thing to do. Like, we have enough sense as human beings to see what is good and what is not good. And I think that when we take a personal accountability for that, and then we apply that personal accountability with a system of morals and a system of laws and a system of regulations that all should make sense and hopefully do make sense. And maybe within that system, we've helped to influence some of those laws and those regulations and those things that we've got in place. Then we have a beautiful system there. But I think it starts with what you said, personal accountability. And that's what I tell people all the time. Just because you don't have to pick up the trash at the boat ramp doesn't mean that you shouldn't. Pick it up. Throw it in the trash can. It's not your Red Bull can. I get it. It's not your Bud Light can. It's Dylan Mulvaney's. I get it. But like pick it up and put it in the trash can because that's what a good steward of the earth, of the environment, of the resource would do. This is what a good human would do. And that personal accountability on that level, even if somebody just sees you do it, it may influence somebody else to pick up a piece of trash and then influence somebody else to pick up a piece of trash and somebody else and somebody else. And then we make a dynamic shift in the point of view of everything through one small movement. It's just like it's like the pay it forward act. You ever gone through a drive through that's doing a pay it forward?
No, I know what it is.
Okay, so I've gone through a drive through, especially Chick-fil-A's around here. I was in line one time and they were like, "Hey, just so you know, we're on like the 260th person for the pay it forward. Would you like to buy the people's food behind you because the person bought yours?" I said, "Absolutely." And like, it's little things, man. It's little things, that personal accountability, that personal little voice in your head that goes, "Hey, that's the right thing to do." And go and do it.
Yep. So I'm an instructor for in the Louisiana Trappers Association, and one of the things I love about it is that's pretty much the motto there, because Louisiana doesn't have, I mean, has like probably the most lenient trapping laws. Like, really only have 2 laws. Well,
if
3.
it's a Bigfoot, kill it.
Yeah. We have, basically it's like 3 in trapping laws. 1, you got to trap only during the season. 2, you can't use traps with teeth on them, the teeth jaws, which I think is illegal in all the states now. And the other one is you have to check the traps every 24 hours. Every day you got to check the traps. That's like the only one. Now, other states will have, you got to have certain size traps. You can't have this big a trap, this for this, blah, 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 blah. Can't use cable restraints, whatever. But we teach in the classes and the instructors that just because it's legal, again, doesn't mean you should do it. So we teach best practices. We want the best thing that's, one, has the least amount of bycatch, so is most efficient, causes the least amount of damage to the animal. That's a big thing that people don't understand with trapping, is that it's how humane it actually is. Like a coyote, if I catch him in a foothold trap, I can let it go and release him, and that coyote be completely fine. Like 90% of the time doesn't even break the skin. It just holds his foot there. It doesn't break his leg, doesn't break his bone. And a lot of money and time has been put into making sure these traps are most efficient like that. But that's one thing they promote, is just because we can don't mean we should.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Dude, that's it. That's conservation. Like, that is the basis of conservation. And I think that, wow, Vinny, this has turned out to be a really good conversation, because now I'm starting to kind of understand my own moral quandary with like a lot of things that are going on, like tournament fishing. I think what we're dealing with is not a breaking of the rules. It is just people that aren't taking the personal accountability to go, not can we, should we? And dude, that is a deeply, that is the duality of man, buddy. That's it right there. I mean, that hits it on the head. Is not, yeah, we can, but should we? I mean, yeah,
No.
you can snort cocaine and have an illegal gun and a knife in the boat.
But you probably shouldn't.
But you probably shouldn't.
Driving the boat intoxicated.
But driving the boat, yeah, exactly. But yeah, man, that's it. Like, and that's a good. I mean, that's just that is like, that's a way to question a lot of things. It's like, when we look at it and we say, well, we're never going to fish a lake out. The bass population will never disappear. But, just as long as we do X, Y, and Z, okay, well, that's good. So we can do that. But should we?
Right.
As the higher life form here, as the thing with a conscience, as the thing with a brain that can think in a complex way and knows the moral aptitude of what it does, should we be doing it?
It's a different, you say you're talking about the bass in the lake. It's a different dynamic than down here. Because I'm talking, you're thinking about a bass in a lake. I mean, how many bass are in that lake? And how many people would have to fish and keep fish to wipe that lake out?
Well, that's the thing. you're never realistically, you're never ever going to fish a lake out. Now that being said, tournaments, when you think about a tournament, what is the purpose of a tournament? What are you trying to do?
Catch the biggest fish,
Yes. And then do what with them?
throw them back.
Or take them to a weigh and then throw them
Right.
back. So the purpose of a tournament is to catch the 5 biggest bass that you possibly can. So that means that in let's say in a conservative estimation on some of these lakes around here, that every single week we have 50 to 100 boats with the sole purpose of going and catching the 5 biggest fish that they possibly can. Many of those people not doing best practice to keep those fish alive or to keep those fish healthy, and or doing it ignorantly, not knowing what even good practice is to keep those fish alive, keep those fish healthy, only viewing those fish not as a living creature, but an ability to make money and to win something, going out there and abusing and using a resource in a way that probably isn't the most sustainable way to use it.
Right.
And then that's where you start having a problem, because you get a lake that, yeah, you're never going to fish all the fish out. But if we go from being able to catch 22 and 23 and 24-pound bags with your 5 best fish to being able to only catch a 15-pound bag of fish, then we've obviously made a very, very critical error in our thought process of, again, yeah, we can, but should we?
Right.
And the should we is where it gets real muddy, because that's where the influence on people's mental states and mental attitudes towards things, that's the hardest thing you can break. I mean, because someone's going to go, I have a license. I used to be this guy. I got a license that says I can keep 5. That's great. So legally you can, but should you?
Right. So and I'm not downplaying the lake at all, what you're talking about. Here, though, it scares me because we're not talking about not being able to get big fish. We're talking about not having any more.
Which is crazy.
So in the inshore, it's the habitat, like I said, the pogie boats and everything, and we're talking about fishing them out and losing the fish. Like ways a way of life down here.
What is the threat level of that?
So I don't know. That's something I want to get the more facts. I want to talk to I'd love to get an inshore saltwater biologist down here on the podcast to just try and get deep down into it. But I mean, it's a way of life down here. I mean, people come from all over the world to come to Louisiana to fish redfish because we have the best habitat for it. We have the best fisheries, but it ain't what it used to be. And if we don't do something, then it ain't gonna be. You know what I mean? Because like Florida, I think they can only keep 2, maybe 1 redfish. What was it in Carolina when you went?
We never kept any. I don't know.
Okay.
To be honest with you. But I mean, but that was the focus of the guides that I was with, was catch and release. And I mean, Judd had no qualms of keeping them, but I mean, his main purpose was catch and release. Now, the speckled trout, catch them and keep them and eat them, but it's because they have an extreme abundance of them. I mean, he said, speckled trout are just out of control, but the redfish are suffering from, number one, industrial level trawling. So the industrial level trawlers for shrimp and other types of fish just decimate, yearling to fingerling size redfish. So the redfish will spawn, the trawlers will come through, inevitable bycatch. They're killing thousands upon thousands of tens of thousands. I mean, at an industrial level, they're killing redfish that aren't able to then grow up and turn into redfish that you can catch on hook and line.
That's interesting because I've never heard anything like that here with trolling. And I've only been trolling once, and I've never seen any redfish in the trawls. We've had croaker, which is, it looks like similar to a redfish.
Yeah.
But I've never even heard of that here, so I don't know if that's I wonder if that's a thing here that would.
And it may be, and it may just not be very talked about. I mean, that's one of the things that like Judd expressed to me saying that, hey, this is not good. Like this is a issue here. This industrial level fishing, and that's the thing you got to deal with in saltwater that you don't deal with in freshwater is an literal industry around fishing.
Right.
Like, yeah, we got guides and there's tournaments, which I consider tournaments an industry around fishing that needs to be regulated more heavily than it is. But when you say industry around fishing down there, you're talking about commercial fishing.
Mhm.
This industrialized style of fishing that I think in many ways is like this is like 1930s, what's the jungle? Where you this who wrote the jungle? My lord, hold on a second. The Jungle by Sinclair. Yeah. What is it? Upton Sinclair. So the Jungle by Upton Sinclair. So the Jungle is just pretty much a firsthand account of industry in the 1930s, unregulated industry. Child labor, all that stuff.
Right.
Rats running over meat that's yet to be processed. Those kinds of things. I think what we're seeing here is a modern day version of that either gets a blind eye turned to it or there's just an ignorance level to it that people don't understand that this industrial level of fishing and essentially abuse and molestation of the environment is inevitably going to come back to bite us in the ass. Period. And so you only really see that in the ocean because the abundance levels of fish that we need and the fish that we like to eat and the things that we like to focus live in the salt. And so you guys may be seeing a lot more industrial level, almost Upton Sinclair type things going on that are so unregulated because politicians' pockets are getting lined by these companies that essentially keep Louisiana on the map. Because let's be honest, I mean, like, what industry does Louisiana have? They've got the salt and the oil.
Yeah.
You ain't if
And
it
sugar.
ain't and sugar. Okay, so salt, oil, or it's salt water, oil, and sugar. I mean, so those are your three big industries there. That's all you guys got. That's what the whole entire state runs on. And so, yeah, there may be some smaller industries, I'm sure, but whatever. Those
Yeah,
are your
that's the majors.
that's your big three. And so you gotta kind of take into consideration these industrial level things that are happening that it doesn't you can't regulate you have to regulate your way into it, but you can't almost regulate your way out of it either. You know what I mean? Because you got to be careful regulating your way into it because then you're stealing personal freedoms and things away from the normal person because that's the person they attack first. They don't go for the industry's nuts because the industry's nuts is what's keeping the political system and the state afloat. They're going to go for the normal person. But like you said, I think that if you can make this almost grassroots kind of guerrilla warfare style, not to indicate violence, but guerrilla war style, and meaning that small pockets of people making good decisions, making the yes we should decisions, then that's where you start to see a difference. But I think that's one thing that maybe isn't being taken into consideration or that I would love. I mean, those are the kinds of quick hell have me back on and get this biologist on here because I'll ask him questions like that. That's like what I want to know. Like, are they fearful of a redfish population collapse? What is the main factor? And then when he gives me the main factors, push the question of, is there any industrial fishing level things that are going on that are outside of your control? Maybe even from foreign entities that you can't control. Are you worried about those things diminishing the redfish population?
Right.
Those are questions you got to ask because that's interesting.
I'm trying to get like the CCA Louisiana to come on. I want to. My buddy knows some of the guys. I'm gonna try and get people from over there. I'm trying to get like Tag Louisiana, the ones that tag the redfish, speckled trout, red snapper, because there was a Wildlife and Fisheries was funding it for a while, but that ran out, and then now they're getting funds from CCA and partners to keep it going to try and keep the research going and everything. So I'm trying, man.
This is an interesting comment, and then I'm probably going to go to bed because I'm getting up to go fishing in the morning. So your boy Insure Maniac, he said every state has limits on their productivity. True, but you only have to go offshore so far before you're not in state limits anymore.
Yeah.
There's a documentary that I watched, and if I could remember what it's called, let me actually Google it real quick so that I can share it with you guys. Netflix documentary about overfishing. Seaspiracy. So seaspiracy, like kind of conspiracy, but the word is seaspiracy. So what they were talking about was, all these state agencies that are like trying and trying and trying to help to regulate, and like you said, set limits on their productivity. But you go 1 mile over a line into international water, and they can do anything that they want to do. And you've got the Japanese, the Chinese, the European countries, American countries that are absolutely just raping the seas. They're raping the resource, which affects a lot of those fish. Like a redfish or a tarpon or something like that. I think a tarpon, if I'm not mistaken, there's one of the fish that, after they're done spawning, some of them go back out and they get in deep water. Or they go spawn in deep water, kind of do like the spray and pray method. So while they're in that deep water, they are susceptible to that bycatch, to that form of industrial fishing that, for the most part, is probably just going to kill them. And like they were talking about in this documentary, it's fascinating, like that this trail of death and destruction that they leave behind them. I mean, you can smell it from miles away, from just all the dead fish floating, and like sharks and dolphins and all these things are just killing the shit out of them. And like the seagulls are there just eating them, and it's just this death and destruction and mayhem, but it can't be regulated because it's in international waters.
Yep. So 3 nautical miles off of the nearest land is the state waters. Louisiana state waters extends 3 nautical miles from nearest land, and federal waters is 200 nautical miles into the Gulf.
And that's the thing is, you go out there, there's fish that swim out there. There's fish that reproduce out there. There's fish that live a portion of their life out there, and they can be just as heavily used and abused as any other fish that's inshore. And then you got a state like Louisiana that allows these international industries to come to the shoreline too.
Yep.
I think
and that's where redfish go. So they go in, they're inshore until it's time to breed. Then when they spawn, they go offshore.
There you go.
And that's where them boats are going to scrape them up. So that's the breeders are getting,
Yeah. And like a lot of this in the Seaspiracy, like, they were talking about like how, I think it was Japan specifically, or one of the Asian countries, Japan or China, I forgot which one. I think it was Japan, which I was surprised by, like, because Japan you would think is very modern. Like they're not going to do these weird industrial practices, but they do. That they would label something tuna, but it was like, yeah, there was some tuna. It was like at least 4% tuna, but the rest of it was like mackerel and kingfish and redfish and snapper and whatever. I mean, it's just whatever they could grind up in there. And there's like, nobody regulating that. They're just grinding it up like, like hot dogs. It's buttholes and elbows. They just grind it all up and shoot it into a tube. They were doing the same thing with like canned fish and different things like that. So, dude, this has been one hell of a podcast. This started off as like people breaking the laws, and we have gone into a deep, dark rabbit hole of political conversation, and I love it.
One more fact before you go. To haul in their catch, Pogey boats dispatch 2 smaller boats that unfurl a 1,700-foot long net. They draw the ends together and fold the bottom of the net to capture the fish, which are then vacuumed into the mother boat. 1,700-foot long net.
Anything that has the word mother boat, that sounds like aliens abducting people, and I'm not about
that. They're abducting pogies. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to let Alex Rudd go to bed. Purple.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
That's perfect. Vinny, I love you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Same here, brother. Looking forward to seeing you over there in ICAST.
Yeah, if I get in, this is the hardest year that I've ever had getting into ICAST.
What you mean?
So I applied for my media badge, and like I have to pay. I'm not paying, but I have to pay for the media badge, and like waiting for approval and application. I've never had this much. I went to ICAST 7 years in a row. I've never had to pay for anything or apply for anything like this. It's the hardest time I've ever had getting into ICAST.
I honestly did the application thing thinking there's no way I'm going to get in, and it just, boom, okay, you're accepted. I'm like, oh, sweet.
I mean, I'm sure they're going to accept me, but I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why this is ICAST. You should be ashamed of yourself if you're listening to this for making this.
Now they're not going to let you in.
Yeah, I know. Probably not going to.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap this one up. Look, if you know any biologist, anybody from CCA, anybody from Wildlife and Fisheries that would like to come on this podcast, send them a message, send me a message. If you want to see anybody on this podcast that you know, be good and informative, we can have good conversations. Let me know somehow, some way. But we usually do this live on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Follow me on Instagram, or I do the post on YouTube to let you know when the lives are coming up. And if not, it'll be released every Monday after the live on wherever you get your podcast, wherever your podcasts are sold. Alrighty then.
Alrighty then.
Love
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, buddy. Hope you find your day.